What's going on, everybody? Thanks a lot for joining us today. My name is Emilio Soria, and today I'll be presenting to you on an interesting topic. So I call this How to Quickly Get Your Team to Do It Right Without the Excuses or the Drama. Now, this is probably a little bit of a different topic than what you're going to hear today. In the climate that we're in right now, most of our workforce is virtual. So, a lot of the super relevant topics that you're going to hear about today are probably around virtual leadership, how to get the most out of your virtual teams, even things that are more diversity, equity, and inclusion related. But what I decided to do was to look at the climate from a different lens and take a look at a topic that was relevant and pertinent before COVID, is still relevant now, and there are some additional challenges due to COVID, and they're still going to be relevant after that. This is something that for me as a leader, especially when I first got into leadership, I faced a lot, right? How do I get everybody on my team on the same page? How do I just get everybody to do it right without the excuses and the drama, without sounding insulting, giving feedback in the right way, all these things that we work towards as we develop our leadership. So I figured this was a good one to touch on. Now, my goal here, if you stick with me to the end of this presentation, uh, really is, to provide you with my number one strategy that I share with my clients to help them get their teams back on track and performing at a high level over the long term. Now, before we get into the information, I want to qualify myself a little bit because who am I? Why should you even listen to me, right? I could just be somebody that came out of left. But here, so let me qualify a little bit about my experience and why I'm qualified to deliver this topic. So again, my name is Emilio Soria. I am founder and CEO of Quantum Level Leader. We're a strategic advisory and coaching firm, and I've held leadership positions since I was 17 years old of all different types. I'm 38 now, so kind of dating myself, but what are you going to do? So about 21 years or so leadership experience. And aside from that, I've owned and operated 5 businesses. But aside from doing it, I've also successfully trained and coached hundreds of leaders over the last 13 years of my career. Now, what I did, I took all this experience, and what I did was I became the secret weapon behind celebrities, CEOs, executives, and business owners to help them get the most out of their teams and the most out of themselves as leaders. Right. So it's kind of what qualifies me to deliver this information. I feel it's important because, we're an interesting place right now in human history, right? So we have a lot of coaches and consultants coming out, and it seems like the trend is, well, let me throw on this blazer, kind of like I have here in the picture, and let me call myself a coach and a consultant. And while there's nothing wrong with that, you could definitely do that, and we all started somewhere. I want to make sure that you understand that the information you're getting today is information that I share with my clients. It's information that's been tested and proven to work. All right. So now with those credentials and me qualifying myself at that level, I mean, it's simple to say, or it's easy to say, I've done some things right. But here's the truth. I've done a lot of things wrong. Now, how many of you out there can relate? Right? You've done some right things. I mean, you're here. So obviously you did some things right. But there was a lot of mistakes that you made along the way that made you the person that you are today. And that's what I want to share with you in part with this topic that I'm covering, because I've made every mistake under the sun that a new leader can make and then some. And I managed to come out with some good principles and good techniques that not only worked for me, but worked for other leaders as well. So after doing this for about 13 years, there are a couple of things that I learned, right? So first is that, a PDF ain't training, talking ain't coaching, and a write-up is not accountability. And we need all three, right? You need good training, you need good coaching and mentoring, and you need good accountability, right? But the problem is, as leaders, we get really busy, and it's not so much that we forget the fundamentals, is that we do what's quick and easy, right? This may not be you, but I'm sure if you think about it, how many of us out there have seen leaders do some of these, if not all three of these? I know I've been guilty of them. But here's the good news. There are hidden gems that exist in what you're already doing that can help you get your team to do it right and to eliminate a lot of the excuses and the drama that comes out of leadership, right? So there's already gems in there, but what you need is one simple strategy to help you mine those gems and get every single member of your team on the right page without all the rah-rah or coming off looking like this guy over here, right? Just kind of do as I say. And if you're a rah-rah person, don't get me wrong, that's great. I'm not, but if you are, that's wonderful. This will still work for you. And the good thing about this is that you can use this framework that I'm about to teach you today with any team. Now, I mentioned I learned this the hard way, right? But here today, you're going to get the cheat code to shortcut your results so that you don't have to put in 13, 15, 20 years into leadership to learn this simple framework. Now, with that being said, what I'm going to teach you today is not overly complicated. It may seem a little simplistic, but I promise you, if you apply this framework, it's going to be a game changer for you in your leadership and how you deal with remediation and really getting people to do things the right way. So the hard way for me, as you see there on the slide, is, I created job aids, flowcharts, checklists, project plans, learning plans, scheduled check-ins, assigned buddies. I mean, I did anything and everything the hard way to try and get everybody up to speed and on the same page, doing it the right way. And you know what the truth was? I didn't get any results, and I hated the process of doing it. It was just so intensive. And with everything else I had going on, it was like another job. I also asked a direct question, well, what do you think the problem is? And I don't know about you guys out there, but I have gotten all the responses. And the funny ones I put there is you get crickets. So you get like just total silence, or you get the shrug, or maybe you've gotten, well, you're the leader, you should know, you have the report, you should know, or something like that. Again, I don't know about you, but I have heard these. Now, have you guys heard these in the past? So I know I have. I also took the approach to be more direct, right? Just to be more transparent and forthcoming, but also be supportive because we're on the same team. And you know what? I'll be completely honest with all of you. I wound up in HR, right? They were saying I came off arrogant. I came off insulting and condescending to them, that I was insulting their intelligence. And really, in my mind, I was just trying to be direct, transparent, and supportive, treating you like a human being. I don't know how many of you this has happened to, but this has definitely happened to me. And this may be an extreme example, but you may have experienced this to some level, to some degree. Now, I've also taken the route of assigning a buddy. And to be honest, I ended up having to have the same conversation 3 different times or more in some situations, not in all situations, because assigning a buddy is helpful. It should be part of continued learning. But, as a tactic to get everybody on the right page, I've faced this challenge more often than not, where I've had to revisit the conversation several times. Now, what I wanted really was an easy way that didn't require all the checklists, didn't require all the conversations, didn't require me to hire a consultant to help me figure this out, right? So how many of you want to learn that easy way that doesn't require these things? I know I do, and I did early on. I mean, that would have been a huge lifesaver, right? I mean, just to do all those things and get kicked in the butt over and over. So I want to just share with you quickly what these breakthroughs were. How did I quickly get my team to do it right without the excuses and without the drama that came with it? Well, so as I mentioned, these are the breakthroughs, and they were really powerful. It was like a light bulb and fireworks and all that went off in my mind, and the light bulb burst and all that good stuff when I figured these out. And they were so simple, but so powerful. The first breakthrough was that I can get more done in one strategic conversation than with days or even weeks of retraining. A lot of times as leaders, we throw training at a situation, don't we? And what happens is that they go through the training and then nothing changes, right? And you ask yourself, it's like, well, why didn't it change? They got the training. That's because training only solves a small percentage of issues, and we'll come to that in a minute. The second breakthrough that I had was that I don't personally create the improvement strategy. I can't tell you the last time I created an improvement strategy. And let me tell you how much time and energy I've saved doing that. And it's counterintuitive, right? Because we're the leaders. And isn't that our job? But no, we don't personally create this improvement strategy. I'll talk about that later on too. The third breakthrough that I had was that I only needed one framework, not two, not 10, not 20, just one. One framework to get my team to do it right without the excuses and without the drama. We collect these frameworks for a number of reasons. You know, we'll talk a little bit more about that as we get to the third breakthrough. But I know I was one of them. How many of you out there have also collected frameworks and books and, you know, free webinars and little flow charts and job aids and infographics? You know, I was definitely one of those, and I stopped all that madness when I figured this out and got this one framework that worked to help me get my team back on track. So let's talk about the first breakthrough because we don't have a lot of time together, and I want to make sure that we get the most that we can out of our time. So the first breakthrough is that I can get more done in one strategic conversation than with days or even weeks of retraining. So here's the truth, right? Training will only address 10% of the issue. That's it, 10%. And that 10% is only related to skills and knowledge gaps. So if it has nothing to do with knowledge or skills, training is not going to help you. So that means that 90% of the issues are performance related. Now, the next thing is that the company provided resources will never get used. How many of you have experienced this in your organizations? I can't tell you how many times I've experienced it personally, and you know, a lot of my clients do as well. You go through, you know, a lot of time creating these manuals, these process and procedures, the job aids, the checklists, all this stuff, and they don't get used. You know, also your team member may have already asked for help, but people are busy. They may have asked you and you assign them a buddy. Will ask your buddy. Your buddy may also be their buddy may also be busy. You know, if you requested them to be their buddy, more than likely that's your superstar and your high performer on the team, right? And you want to put them with the best people. But guess what? That superstar will not remain a superstar if they don't get their work done. And if they're continuously asked to be the buddy for someone, they can very easily get bogged down. So it's a very real thing that the person they ask for help is busy. And you know what? They're probably panicked and they want to resolve this issue just as badly as you do. And I would even argue even more than you do because they're in the hot seat, right? So they're looking for a solution. You don't know what to do and they don't know what to do. You've tried training, but training doesn't work. So what next, right? So here's what I learned. The truth is that you only need one framework to get to the root cause of the issue. But here's what that framework needs to cover. It needs to help that employee self-identify the issue. They need to take ownership of that issue. Also, it needs to be able to break the old belief patterns and also install new belief patterns. Now, I'm not talking about some kind of unethical inception thing right now, but really all I'm saying is that they need to own the problem and identify what the problem is for themselves, right? Then they need to break the old belief patterns because they may be believing some things that aren't true. And they need to install new belief patterns that address those gaps in reality. Doesn't this make sense? Doesn't it make sense to have one framework to address this root cause, for them to self-identify, break their old patterns of belief, and install new ones? Wouldn't this make your job a lot easier and save you a lot of time to get to the more important work? I know it did for me. Now, let's talk about the second breakthrough. I personally don't create the improvement strategy. Again, this saves me loads of time and energy. How many of us are still doing that? Be honest. Yeah, a lot of us are. You know, a lot of us think it's our job to create the improvement strategy, right? But there are three reasons why leaders should never, ever, ever create the improvement plan. Here's why. First, we're too busy. I don't know about you, but between back-to-back meetings, deliverables, competing deadlines, people doing the work dump. Like if your leader dumps work at you and needs you to invest hours in certain things, I've gotten that a lot, but if you have all that going on, would you honestly be able to put 100% of your focus on it? Probably not, because your focus is already divided on other things and you have to get really quick and decisive. So you don't have the time and the energy to really give it your all to help them figure out that issue. The second thing is that you're not close enough to the work. Even if you were recently promoted, right, and you did the job really well, and because of that, they thought to reward you with a team, right? They say reward, but 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 they chose to reward you with the team. Here's the truth: after a little while, you've gotten too far from the work because now your job is leading other people and managing them through that work. So you're removed. You're a layer removed. So because you're not close enough to the work, you don't see firsthand what the problem is anymore. And the third and the most important of these three, if you develop the plan, it becomes your plan instead of their plan. So if you recall when I talked about breakthrough one and they had to own the cause, right? They had to self-identify the root cause. This is all about ownership. They need to own the cause and also own the solution so that they can commit to it. Studies show that when people are part of the discovery and solutioning process, they're more likely to carry it out, right? Now, some of you may be saying to yourself in regards to number one, is I have heard this objection before. Well, you shouldn't be too busy. This is your team and you need to make time for them. True. But your job here is not to create the plan, is to lead them through it. And they have to own it anyway. So, and I would also argue if you're not busy or if you have enough time to dedicate 100% to it, then you may not be focusing on the right things and something is going to suffer. So your performance will suffer by getting really in the weeds of developing these improvement strategies. But if you work together with the employee to discover the solution together using a time-tested framework, then your chances of success will increase dramatically. So for here, the truth is that the employee, as I said, needs to create their own improvement plan. Now, this improvement plan, you need to answer these three questions. What needs to be identified first? We covered that in the first breakthrough in terms of, excuse me, in terms of the self-identification and the other factors. What is the step-by-step process that is going to be committed to? And lastly, what are the right things to commit to? How many times haven't we been in a meeting and we said, okay, so are you committing to resolving this problem and doing better? And they say, yes, I do. And then that's it. I've seen this happen. I've heard this happen. How many of us out there have seen this happen? Be honest. Yeah, it happens. So we need to make sure we're getting commitment on the right things. So you guys getting excited? Is this sinking in? I really hope it is, because I get really fired up on topics like this, because these are really game-changing strategies and they're really, really simple to implement. Now let's move on as our time is limited. So breakthrough number 3, I only need one framework, not 2, not 10 or 20, just one. That's it. And I already addressed this in the first breakthrough, right? And what that framework should cover. But the reason why we collect these frameworks and all these different ways of doing it is because we think that everybody's unique. So you know what? I'm just going to give you the hard truth and the reality that no one is unique. No one is unique, which means, this is the good news to that harsh truth, that everything has a principle. Everything has an underlying principle. Now, this is counterintuitive to some leaders because they feel, no, everyone is an individual and you need to treat everyone like an individual. But here's what happens. Then you end up creating a different solution for each person you come across, when it doesn't need to happen that way. You just need one framework that works, that allows for discovery. And regardless of what the different characteristics of the person are, you will still get to the root cause. And really, we're not that different. We're really not. So hopefully this is sinking in. Hopefully you're getting excited about this, because I'm about ready to share with you the number one strategy to quickly get your team to do it right without the excuses and without the drama. Are you ready for it? Well, here it is. All right, so this is a 4-part framework, right? Now, this is going to help you and really change the game to get your team aligned, get everybody on the same page. So the first is to self-identify. So you want to let them know why you're meeting, why they're there. And then you're going to use a high gain questioning model of some kind. There's a ton of them out there. You can use high gain questions to get to the root cause. One such framework is like the 5 whys. There are many others out there that you can use, but you want to ask high gain questions. These are questions that are simple and defy quick yes or no responses. So you want to start asking some of those questions and start digging in to what it is that's really going on. They may say, well, I don't understand. Okay, well, what specifically don't you understand? You know, and you don't have to ask it in that way, but something similar, you know, so that you can let them expound and explore their thinking. Next, you want to break old patterns of belief. So there's a model that that I want to share with you, which is called the Karpman Drama Triangle, which pretty much breaks down how drama starts. And it takes the philosophy of all the world's a stage and we're just players in it. And it takes a look at the 3 players in the drama scene, right? You have your victim, who's, oh my God, things are happening to me. Then you have your persecutor. Oh, I work with all fools. All these people are dumb or whatnot. Then you have your rescuer, which wants to save people from the pain and wants to kind of be the martyr in the situation. Like, not the martyr, but the savior in the situation. Like, I'll save you. So you want to find out, which one are you in that situation? Are you the victim? Are you the persecutor? Or are you the rescuer? And then you want to identify who they are in that triangle. Now, this you do internally, right? You're not going to go out loud and talk through this with them, but this is what you do internally to identify where you are in that triangle and where they are. Because there are core beliefs and there's a dynamic to each one, right? And if you look up the Karpman Drama Triangle, you'll find information on that. And then rise above it to realize that you don't have to be a player. You can rise above that. And then your job is to begin to identify the gaps in their reality. How do they perceive the problem? What do they believe to be absolutely true? Then you can move into, once you finish the breaking the old patterns of belief, you want to start installing some new ones. So here is your opportunity to address the realities, address the gaps in the real picture, because they may have some assumptions that they make, and based on those assumptions they're coming to certain conclusions, and the data that they're basing those assumptions on may be incomplete or incorrect. So you want to make sure you're addressing those things and filling in the gap. Once you do that, then you're in a place to begin reviewing the process, right? And you want them to identify where in the process they're having issues. See, once you've addressed all this and you do it the right way, all of a sudden you're on their team. And now together you're figuring it out and you're troubleshooting. Then you want to find out, what do they feel they need in order to be successful? So you should already have the KPIs or the key performance indicators in your mind of what it takes to successfully complete that task. But you want to find out from them what they need in order to be successful and reach those KPIs and address those gaps that they're experiencing. Let them figure it out. Let them write it out and create it. Then you're going to guide them through gaining commitment. You're going to use the SMART guidelines. You know, why change what works? So something specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time constrained. And you want to use these as they start naming their goals of what they need and what they're going to commit to be successful. You're going to get commitments on the root cause. You're going to get commitments from them on the gaps in their reality, and how you address those. and get commitment on their next steps. You as a leader also want to make commitments in return. It's not just gaining commitments from them, but where you are going to commit to making sure that you give them a little extra attention and that you make sure that you're going to be there for them to help them through the process. And that's where you follow up, right? Your follow up could be in the form of a one-on-one. Walk over to their desk if it's, if we're out of COVID, and reach out, just talk to them, have a conversation, reach out to them via IM, give them a phone call, set up a little catch-up meeting, 10 to 15 minutes, something like that, where you could just talk and follow up and see how things are going. Now, this is a practice framework. It's not a one and done. So this is something you're going to have to commit to practice. But I promise you, implement it, try it with your teams, and it will be game changing for you. It'll cut out a lot of the drama and a lot of the excuses that may come up, because what this framework is going to allow them to do is take ownership of their own autonomy. By doing this and letting them create this, you're actually stretching them and helping them to develop, right? So it's mutually beneficial, right? So I hope that this is sinking in. I really hope you guys are excited for this. I hope you screenshotted this for sure. And I want to thank you for giving me your attention today and allowing me to share this with you. If you do have questions after this, you can reach out to me directly at 856-214-0124. Visit us online at quantumlevelleader.com, or send us an email at support@quantumlevelleader.com. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn via Quantum Level Leader as well. All right, so once again, guys, I want to thank you all for attending this session. I hope you had fun. I know I had fun delivering it to you, and I'll catch you all next time. Take care.